So quickly tell me your story. You went there in 2018.
Yeah, so kind of how it all started was my wife fell pregnant in 2016, and we'd been thinking about going and like kind of toying with the idea like of immigrating, and I think that when she fell pregnant, that was kind of a real catalyst, so to speak. And we thought, like at the time I was living in we were living in Four Ways
Ooh,
in Santon, and like I had a really good job, but it was the stress was just crazy. Like also I had work related stress and also just like day to day living.
yeah.
And so like we made a call to like, okay, well, like we don't really want to raise a child in this environment. That was, I think that was the big thing. So other than that, we probably would have carried on. Almost certainly, I'm sure we would have probably have stayed.
Yeah.
And anyway, so we went through a whole decision process about where we're going to go to. All right, so now we've made up our minds. We want to leave the country. Where to now? And we like had a list of pros and cons for each possible destination, and then there was one place like then we just thought, hey, what about Canada? Like we'd never thought of it before. Like we at the time we knew very little about Canada, probably about as much as you do.
Yes.
So we did a little bit more homework. We went to see an immigration consultant, a special Canadian immigration consultant, and then there was something else that turned up that I didn't know, that I didn't realize. I figured it turned out that we could do the handle, in my case, we could handle the immigration process ourselves. We didn't need a consultant, which was even
Okay.
better.
All
We
right.
ended up saving a whole lot of money that way. So anyway, long story short, I qualified for permanent residence, and which was also quite amazing. Like I don't know, but I don't know if it's still working like that right now. But at the time we qualified for permanent residence, we'd never been here before, which was also quite amazing.
Mm.
And yeah, I quit my job, and that was a leap of faith, because the permanent, so like that was actually it was great in the sense that I could work anywhere in Ontario, because my permanent residence is conditional, so I have to live in Ontario, in this province that I'm living in now.
Mm.
And so yeah, like I started reaching out, sending out my resume CV to like Canadian companies that could potentially be employers. I managed to get a job interview in like a final, because I did a series of Skype interviews. I got this company that I was talking to. They're based in a small town that's actually it's about 20 minutes drive out of Kitchener. They said, okay, they're interested in me, but they normally want to see their employees face to face before they hire anybody.
Mm.
And so this was about it was about 3 weeks before we were due to fly out, because we'd already booked our tickets, and we had our Airbnb and everything. So I took another gamble, another calculated risk. I got an urgent flight out, flew out, and that was also something I'll never forget. I flew out on the Monday. I had my interview on the Tuesday, I think it was, and then by Friday I was back in Joburg.
Oh,
So it
ouch.
was, like, I mean, if you've flown to the States, you'll
I
know
know
it's
I have. It's
a
terrible.
it's a serious amount of mileage there. So,
Yes.
but yeah, it panned out, and I got the job, and yeah, so and that was 3 years ago now. Can you believe it? So, in the 24th of this month, we said we've been here for 3 years. So yeah.
Okay. And the kid was born there, obviously.
No, 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 no. My son was born in SA, so he
Okay.
was a toddler when we left. He was about 18 months old when we arrived.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, so he's actually spent more of his life in Canada than in South Africa. So yeah,
Fantastic. Nothing wrong with that.
no, no, yeah. The worst thing is like not seeing his grandparents. I think that is the single, being away from both sets of grandparents. That's the single worst thing. So yeah.
I can imagine, Andre, but it's when we went over, my husband and I, my dad was old, and he said to me, you know what, just go, don't even come back for a funeral. At that
Yeah.
time, I missed him terribly and he got sick and all sorts of stuff. So we decided to come back because of him. And he was so upset. He said to us, the chance that you're going to get another opportunity like that is crazy. You should have stayed where you were.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
understand it. But I mean, with lockdown and all the rubbish that's going on, yeah, your child wouldn't see the
Yeah.
grandparents anyway.
Well, yeah, exactly that. So it's just our circumstances in SA because I was living and working in Joburg. I'm originally from Rustenburg in Northwest Province. So
Okay, well,
yeah.
I'm from Tabazimbi.
Oh
Kuduspo.
wow,
Can't
small world.
believe it. So yes,
And
eintlik Afrikaans.
yeah, ek is twee tale. So yeah.
My
Well,
word, can you believe
yeah.
it? Cool world, eh?
Yeah. But anyway, so my wife is from Port Elizabeth or Quebec. I can never get the new
Oh no, never
pronunciation right
mind.
now.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the problem there was also like like I think logically I don't think my kid, we wouldn't have spent that much time with either set of grandparents anyway.
Yeah.
So now it's yeah, I don't know. You make like Genie, you make these decisions in life, and this is it was very hard. It was
Well,
really really hard. But
Andre, that's why I'm doing this. I'm doing this
yeah,
interviews or these
yeah,
interviews for people to understand that it's not
yeah,
just a matter of up and out and you so happy to move. There's a lot of emotional things and
yeah.
attachment to the country that you were born in, your
Yes,
folks, things that you're familiar to. So it's
sure.
not just a question of today I decide I get on a plane, I go, and I'm going to
Yeah,
be happy, happy, happy. There are downsides to it, and people need to realize that for sure.
yeah. I mean, I think like I've reflected a lot. Like I think, would I change my decision? I don't think so, because
Mm-mm.
we're like our day-to-day living, like here it's a very different type of lifestyle, so it's a lot simpler in some ways. Obviously there's no domestic help, you don't have the social system, and I think pretty much that's also something I think a lot of people won't think about when they when they decide to immigrate. Like you're at the bottom of the social pecking order. Like you're just
Yes.
another immigrant. Like especially in a place like Canada, and I'm pretty sure Australia will be the same thing. You're just another immigrant,
Mm.
and so you got to prove yourself. Like this country has given you an opportunity to be there. Now you got to like restart from scratch. And
Yeah.
like the simplest things, you got to get a driver's license. Well, here, like also I can't speak about anywhere else, but I can speak for Canada. You have to get a new driver's license. You don't have a credit record because they don't recognize South Africa. Like I had a fantastic credit record in South Africa. It meant nothing when I came here.
Yeah.
So
You've got to start from
you got to
scratch.
start from scratch. So simple things like that.
Mm.
The housing market here is absolutely brutal. Like because that's a huge issue right now where we live in. Also, like across the country, like a house will go on the market and you'll get 10, 20, 30 offers for that house.
Oh my word.
People outbid each other for it. Yep.
Can you
So we
believe
were
it?
lucky. I managed to buy a house. I got a fixer upper. So I own this. Well, we own this, should I say? My wife and I own
Well done.
this.
Yeah.
And yeah, we managed to do that in August last year. If we had to put in an offer now, we wouldn't be able to afford this place because it would be with the way house prices have gone.
Sure.
Anyway, so there's
Exactly.
like you got to take the good with the bad. I think that's kind of where I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Like the good is like it's a fantastic environment for to raise a child. I
Mm.
think man, I don't think we would have struggled to find a better environment. Our house is there's public trails throughout the city where we live. There's with like bike trails basically, and you can go from one end of the city to the next. It's all interconnected, and like so, and part of this trail is like our house is on part of this trail, and so my son, like almost every day, we're out there, and we can go to public parks. My wife, there's the security risks are not. I think that's what I put down in my my feedback to you.
That's right.
Yeah, we don't have those security issues. There are like nowhere is perfect. There is petty crime, but it's usually it'll be like drug addicts or something like that. It's that, and it's never very seldom violent. If there is any violent crime, it's typically between like it'll be like gangs or something like that.
Yeah.
If that does happen.
So you're not going to bed at night watching every window to be locked and
no, not at all. No, we feel like, and so that I think, and also my job has changed. I had a fairly high level job there in the company that I worked at. I'm back in a junior position right now. But that's it. You got I accepted that. I knew that was going to happen, and I accepted that. And I think that's something you got to understand. Like, for anybody who's viewing this, like, you've got to be prepared to take a step back in like some aspects of your life and your career, unless you transferred, like, especially to a place like Canada, you're probably going to have to take a step back.
And that's fine.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
The thing is, like with us, we've adjusted our lifestyle. We've actually toned, like, a lot of things we scaled back with our life. We only have one car now. Like we don't eat out as much as we used to. Like in South Africa, my wife and I were real foodies, and we ate out all the time. And like it's too expensive. You can't really eat. You can eat out maybe once a week, but not more than that. And you kind of scale back things, but like, I think overall, like, our quality of life is better in the long run.
You've got more freedom, I mean, you guys are getting out.
No, absolutely. You've got a lot more freedom. Like now, I think the province where we live in. So Canada is a bit weird. It's the way the country works is it's a federation. So each province is a lot of the local governance is handled on a provincial level. So there's a lot of autonomy between the different provinces. So it's almost like a little country by itself in a way. And so our province is starting to open up. With like seems like the worst of the COVID thing is over. And just like the freedoms of, like, I just so the security, I think from a security issue, that's a big thing. You can't underestimate that. So that's I'm glad we did it for that reason.
And for your kid, I mean, it's like Marty Kruger. I spoke to her. She's an immigration agent.
Yeah.
And she said, as an older person going to Canada, you will always probably feel like an immigrant. But the kids don't feel like that. So, they grew up there. So they're Canadian when they grow up there. And I think that's...
My kids are... Yeah. My kid's 4.5 years old. He's almost a little Canadian. He's, he speaks with a Canadian, he's got a noticeable Canadian accent, which is fine. I mean, he's grown up here. So, like, he has no, like, he speaks about, he doesn't know what a rubbish truck is. He'll speak about a garbage truck, things like that, like little small details.
Yeah.
And, which is, but that's fine. And, I think overall it's I felt very welcome here, I must be honest. I think there was another reason why we chose Canada, because there's so many immigrants here from all over the world, and there's a sizable South African community. Man, there's a lot of South Africans.
I see that. There's something like 10,000 South Africans in Toronto. I mean, that's a lot of people.
No, there's tons, and they're arriving every week because we get wind of them. They arrive every week, so like we're close enough to Toronto, so like I think, and we're helping, and that's also something else that's also great about Canada. Like, that's something that's very missing in South Africa, and I don't know how you get that cultural, like the sense of community and the sense of helping each other. Like like people that arrive here, I'll give you a silly example. Like we had a couple that arrived here a few weeks ago, and they were still in, they had to do a quarantine. They still were in quarantine. And so they reached out to the local community here in Kitchener, and they asked us, hey, like, guys, we've just arrived. We don't know anybody here. We need to rent a house. Can like can somebody like point us in the right direction? And like, which we did. And then he went so far to say, okay, well, he's got an appointment with the landlord, but he can't physically go and see the house. Can somebody please help him out? So it was a Sunday afternoon. I said, sure, no problem. I went with my phone. I did a WhatsApp walkthrough with the house, and just to kind of like that kind of thing, and just so, and that kind of community, the small things like that, it adds up and it makes a big difference.
It does. You don't see that in South Africa, but I also think people are so stressed out over here.
Yeah.
It's like everyone is absolutely at boiling point. They attack each other on social media, and it is horrendous. And I really think it's because people are literally so hurtful, they are at boiling point. And it's sad, but I saw that with the Canadians, all the groups. Everyone is so friendly and wanting to help, and there's no bickering and no funnies. So that is amazing.
Yeah, I think like any bickering that we have, it's minor things. It's like
small things.
It's like it's not. It's like also you don't like like I said, like me personally, I can feel my stress level since I moved here. I mean, when we first arrived at my job, because we were very lucky. We managed to find an apartment in this. It's a small little town that's just north of here. It's absolutely beautiful. I would live there in a heartbeat. It's stunning.
Yeah.
Anyway, and we couldn't afford a house here.
Anyway. It worries me.
That's the reason why we didn't live there. Anyway, so I mean, I cycled to work. It was great. It was like 3 k's away from work. I would cycle to work. In winter, I walked there, and that was an experience, because I think the coldest I walked was about -21, or -22. And but I grabbed up, I bundled up properly, and you know what? It was fine as long as the wind wasn't blowing. I was moving, and so. And this place, it's like the seasons are. This is something I love about Canada. Each season is like beautiful in its own way. Like summer is great because, like you're sitting outside with your friends and barbecuing and like having a great time. The kids are running through, going to pools and splash pads, public water areas. The fall is just beautiful with all the colors. I mean, you probably saw it in Connecticut, and winter, obviously, like I embrace the cold. I'm a bit of a polar bear, so it doesn't really bother me. And like you have like warm soups and foods, and that the houses are like they're geared for it. They're properly insulated and heated. So like I think, and that was a big thing in SA, like, because you only really realize it when you live overseas, is because like our houses weren't insulated, so you felt the cold a lot more. So I work for a company that sells grain silos and handling equipment. So basically, like if you go to farms and you see these big galvanized steel bins, and also the conveyors that take the grain in and take it out. I like, that's the company I work for now sells that, and we're a dealer for a grain. Like you can think of it's like almost like a car dealer, like you're working for a BMW dealer. It's like kind of type of thing. I work for a dealership, so I work for the same kind of dealership in South Africa, and I was a sales manager. So I had a lot more responsibilities, and so that's actually how I ended up here. Because in my current situation, I was fortunate in that sense. I reached out through the network. I just kind of like, because it's an American company, I just reached out through the people that are my connections, and I said, hey, like I'm immigrating to Canada. I'm going to be arriving in Ontario, is there another dealership in Ontario that I can approach? And they referred me to the guys I work with now. Yeah, and here I am 3 years later. I'm still with him, so yeah, must be doing something right.
Absolutely. Oh, but that's nice, man. It's nice when things come together like that. When you don't.
Yeah, they do. They do. They come together for a reason, and and things do happen for a reason. And I think and I think, like I wrote, it's like, I think the longer I'm away from, the last time I was in South Africa was at the end of 2019. We went for Christmas just before all this COVID nonsense. And yeah, I was kind of hoping to go back at the end of this year. I don't know if that's going to happen, because it looks like you guys are in the poo right now. So I don't know if you can
say anything. All right, we might not have a country left. I promise you, it is a total disaster. But I'm sure you speak to your family and.
Well,
I'm well informed of the happenings in South Africa.
I follow the news for a couple of reasons. Number one, Canadian news is very boring generally, and number two, it's like, I'm still passionate about it. It's my home country, and like, it's upsetting when I see things like things that are I don't know how to phrase this. Like just when things fall apart. I think it's probably the best way.
It is. A person.
Very upsetting. Yeah.
A person don't want to get political or anything or negative, because we still, we've got to somehow make it work. You know what I'm saying? But it's very upsetting when you wake up every morning. It's a freak show at the moment. The crime, the embezzlement of money, people are suffering really, really badly. And there's no turning back. I don't think a person's ever going to be able to turn this back. It is what it is.
Oh.
So we've just got to make the best of it and try and get out as quick as possible.
It's not quite the same. It's like, I think I've come to peace that I've made I've come to peace with myself that I've made a life decision. I think this is also a takeaway. Like, you have to do a lot of soul searching. And it's not just a case of getting on, and also other things that people need to remember, your other relationships, how the state of your relationships are also going to dictate, what if you make a success of wherever you go or not. Because if you're married, or if you've got a life partner, or whatever your situation is that partner on board with you?
Yes.
Because you need 100% commitment from both of them, because I tell you, this stress tests a marriage, it really does. No matter how good your marriage is, it will stress test it. If you're married, of course. I think also adapting, because I see it with some other immigrant communities. I'm not going to name any, but they tend to stick to themselves, which I don't think is good. They need to you need to embrace your new country, which means getting out there, networking, meeting people, because that'll ultimately help you put together that's a safety net that you left behind. It'll put together a replacement, and it will also help you with your happiness as well. I don't know. For me, I know people.
Thing of community. You want to belong in a community. You're alone in the world. You know what, the way I see it is that when you decide to do something like this, see it as an adventure. Try and get into it and put your back into it. Enjoy whatever you can enjoy of it, because life only gives you one or few opportunities, and boy, if you don't use it and you don't see the good in it, it's done.
Absolutely, I wouldn't change it. I think, and you hit the nail on the head. There was also another reason why we chose Canada. And not I know a lot of guys like going to Australia and New Zealand because they're scared of the weather here. And I think the change, the difference, because just to experience, just the adventure of experiencing such a different place. And I'm getting used to it now to a point, but there's still some things okay, well that's really different compared to. I think if you also have that kind of a mindset as well, I've also seen this whole thing as an adventure. It's been, you know, it's been awesome, and
Awesome.
we're very lucky. I think my family and I, we've been very, very lucky with the way it's landed out as well. We could have easily have just carried on staying. I mean, apart from the fact that we got permanent residence, like that was just like, wow.
Yeah.
So how can it, I don't know if you've if you've spoken to the other Canadian guys, because how Canada's system works is you have a federal level express entry system, okay, like for immigrants.
Yeah.
So if you want a permanent, so basically, and they it was a while ago that I did this, but anyway, you put in your education, your age, and all these other good things. It's on the federal website if anybody wants to look at it. It's anybody, you know, it's open to the world. You can see where you are. They'll tell you what points they're looking for. And I think at the time, so it's like if your points are high enough, you go into like kind of like a lottery.
Yes.
Okay. So at the time, my points were like a little bit too short. And like it was about for a couple of months, this kind of carried on. It ticked over. Like I wasn't getting like, and the draw level that they have at the lottery changes all the time. And so I kind of like gave up on it. I thought, you know, this isn't going to happen. And then one day I got an email like, you've been nominated by the province of Ontario.
Oh my word.
Like, and basically if the nomination get like they expressed interest in me getting a nomination. Long story short, I applied for the nomination. It gave me an extra 600 points, so I had 1,000 odd points, and the cutoff was 400. So yes, I got invited to apply for permanent residence. I got the PR, and my wife and child automatically got it as well. And yeah, so like life throws you an opportunity like that, and
you've got to take it, and you've got to enjoy it.
Yes, no, and
embrace it.
No, absolutely. And I mean, it's like, I think also like nowhere's perfect. So, you know, like you go anywhere in the world, like, I don't know, I think guys, like people think they go to places like Australia or Canada and life's going to be hunky-dory. It's what you make of it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. Andre, I think that's all I need from you right now, but we'll stay in contact.
Sure.
Good luck on that side. I'll let you know when I land, when our plane lands that side.
Okay, yes.
I'll give you a call.
Right, that's fine. Yeah, come. You can come around for a beer or two.
We'll definitely do that. We'll bring a bottle of red wine with.
Yeah, okay, yeah, even better.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And I really appreciate your input. I think it's so important that people know what's happening and hear from real people and not just stuff on the internet, because there's a lot of garbage on the internet.
Yeah.
So it's important that people listen to these things if they're really serious about it. So I really appreciate it.